Hello YouTube, this is Matt here with another small promotional video. As you know, I've been doing various 3D prints through the years of various Bluebell model railway stock, or Bluebell stock I should say. And the last ones I released were the small four-wheel coaches, which have gone down quite well. Before that it was Captain Baxter, which has had a small tweak on the design to make the curves slightly more curved rather than having actual flat sides to make up a curve. So that's been improved, and we've sold about 7 of those, so that's pretty good. The Metropolitan stock is back on sale as well now on Shapeways, and they seem to be doing a reasonable job. The chassis have been revised due to Shapeways' inability to print them at the moment. We've strengthened them, taken some bits off, and the chassis in front of me here is pretty much how it is now. So on to this project. This is a new project which has been worked on for about a year and a half, maybe even 2 years now. This is the L.N.W.R Observation Car, which you can find on the Bluebell Railway on the end of various coaching sets, especially when the Bluebells are out, or autumn tints, or just general special events. So this is the latest 3D print. Now, I've had a few bits of this for a few months already, just before Christmas. Some of it's been printed on a home printer via 3D hubs, and some of it's been printed by Shapeways, which has just arrived this minute. You can probably see there's no bogies, and I'll go into that in a minute, why there isn't any. So we'll start off. As you can see, it's split up into various pieces. We've got the body at the back here, split into 3 pieces. We've got detail pieces, and we also got a one-piece chassis or a floor for the body to sit on, and also all the coach seats, which are split up into 3 lots, so you can buy them individually or spread the cost along so many months. So that's basically what you can buy from Shapeways in the near future. Hopefully by the end of February they'll be available. Luckily most of the bits have gone through Shapeways now, and they are happy with them, and they've printed them with no problem. So let's take a closer look at some of the parts which are soon to be available. Okay, let's have a look a bit closer at each piece what you can buy. So the body is separated into 3 sections, so 2 ends and a middle. That is to reduce the costs. It's not being done in white, strong and flexible. This is mainly due to cost, and also because it's quite a long vehicle, there is a slight worry that it might warp. Most of my small coaches have warped and slightly gone banana shaped, but it's only a very slight bow. So these will be available in Frosted Ultra Detail, or FUD, as will most of the small parts. The only white, strong and flexible, or black, strong and flexible, will be the chassis, which I'll come to. So these will be available in the Ultra Detail material in 3 sections. I'll put the prices up at the end because I can't remember them off the top of my head. So you've got 2 ends, as you can see here. Quite nicely detailed with all the detail and paneling detail on the front. There are holes to add handrail wire for the handles. There's a door handle on there. This one's slightly beaten up this side, but we'll clean it up eventually. Got all the holdings for the destination boards along the top, as well as all the holes in the roof for the roof vents. The ends, it's got all the detail on the end as well. Electrical boxes, etc., the big windows. You've got a mounting point on the underside, as I said, to the front, and then that slots into the middle section. As you can see by the darker patches, there's 2 mounting blocks on either side. You can see the runners along the side here where the seating will slot into. Again, all the paneling detail, all the holders along the top for the destination boards. All the roof vent detail. I've left this one slightly recessed so you can put a piece of brass, then the roof vent, and then you can put all the shrouding around the outside of the main vent. All this is made in resin by a Form Labs printer. It's slightly cheaper for me to do it that way instead of paying the postage from the Netherlands. So the last end, again, it's very similar to the other end, apart from it's got a slightly different end on it. You can see the spacers, which keep this space so it doesn't warp too much when it sets and warms up. Again, all the panelling detail, all the holes, all the hinges, it's all there. Got all the, I think it's emergency lighting or something on the end, so you can run wire through those and down. Again, you've got all the holes for the roof vents in the top as well. This end came out a little bit better than the other, but still it's a pretty good print. So some of it needs cleaning up still, which I need to get around to. So for the inside of the coach, we've got the seating. Now these have been modelled very carefully on what is actually in the coach today, which are the flip seats, so you can flip them from one way or the other depending on which way the coach is travelling. And it's been quite difficult to try and model that in the way which way do you want them facing. So I've done a sort of selection of either way, or back to back, or facing each other. But these are tiny little prints. They're really, really small. You can see by the sizes on the cutting mat here. They're no bigger than 10mm wide. Very, very small and very delicate. What you probably can't see very well, but you can just see on the ends, there are small little handles and there is a gap underneath. They are absolutely tiny. But that's some wonderful detail managed to achieve by a small home printer. Fantastic, really. These are available in 3 sections, so you've got the 2 shorter ones for the ends, and then you've got the longer one for the middle section. These all slot into the runners. You can see they're on sprue. If you chop the sprue off, there's a small extended leg underneath which goes onto the sprue, which will fit hopefully into those holes on the runners on the side of the coach bodies. So those are available separately to the coach bodies, just because of cost. Try and keep it low so people can buy them in sections or when they can. Again, I'll put out the prices at the end, and these will be available in, I believe, Frosted Ultra Detail. Okay, the additional detail. These are the small parts for the coach. These are the roof vents. There are some spares on there, so you've got the similar sort of torpedo style vents, and then you've got one spare middle roof vent which goes in that rather larger hole. You can see they are tiny compared to the measurements on the board here. This is the extra detail part for the chassis. As I said, on the Metropolitan coaches we've had problems with the chassis. So what I've done now, similar to this coach, is taken all the buffers off because they were breaking in the print when they're being grabbed out the printer to be cleaned. So these have been removed from the chassis and put on a sprue. You can see there are a few more extras. Instead of 4, there are, I believe there's 6 there, so you've got 2 spares just in case you break any. I'm always thinking like that, just in case anybody has any problems or breaks them, there's 1 or 2 spare there for you. These are modelled as is what on there now, on the chassis now. They basically slot into the hole on the end of the chassis. These have both been printed in UFD. They'll be available in extreme ultra detail as well. And they're quite a reasonable price. I think they're not too expensive. So they're available separately, one for the roof, one for the chassis, and again prices will be at the end. The last and probably final biggest piece of this 3D print is the chassis. Now this has been designed in a slightly different way. Usually I'd print it all in one, as I've already mentioned. I've now taken the buffers off like for Metropolitan stock, This has been printed in white strong and flexible, but it has been dyed black because the chassis is black, and because it just makes it easier rather than painting it. You can see all the step boards are in place, and also all the holes for the attachments, so you can attach the body to the chassis. You can see there's a little lip around the outside, which is where the body sits on, and that should slot over that. Hopefully, it'll be quite comfortable on that and fit quite easily. Underneath, you can see it's got all the detail on it. The battery boxes, which are hollow, so you can put weight in there if you require. You've got the two bogie bosses, and you've got the vacuum cylinders here, and also a dyno on the end here as well. I put a little support under there as well, just to ensure it doesn't snap. I'll bring it close to the camera so you can see. There's a little post there just to hold it up. But we've had no problems with this, so it's not too bad. The surface is a little rough, but again, it's not too bad. What you need is some flexibility and some strength, which this one is quite nicely representing. It's quite stiff and it's a little bit flexible, so it's not too bad. You can also see around the battery boxes, you've got all these sort of mounts for brass wire to go through if you wish to put them on, which hold the battery boxes underneath the chassis. So I've tried to do that as well. There's also, you probably won't be able to see it on this, but there is small indentations near the steps, as there is another set of steps hanging down on some brass wire which I put in there. You can also see there's no truss rods going across. You can see there's little cutaways on either side, so the brass wire will come up and across and down again, and that's just easy to do with brass wire rather than printed, as it'd be way too fragile. You can also see the vacuum or steam heating pipe running along the side, which was quite difficult to do, but I managed to find out how to do it on SketchUp, so it wasn't too bad. You can see the holes in the end for the buffers, which I showed you earlier, and also a centre one for a hook if you wish to put one in, or a coupling hook. And that will be available on Shapeways very soon. So we come to the conclusion of this small little promotional video. But at this point in time, I'd like to thank everybody who has helped in researching this coach. There's not a lot of information on this coach at all, drawing wise. I'd like to thank the L.N.W.R Society for allowing me to be sent a drawing of this coach. It only had a few limited drawings on it and measurements, but it certainly did help start this about a year and a bit ago. And I'd like to thank personally everybody from the Carriage and Wagon workshop at Horsted Canes on the Bluebell line. Some of those who went and actually took photos for me of the roof, various bits and pieces on the chassis, and many other things, which I am in debt to them for doing that for me, and I very much appreciate their efforts and help. Now to the not so fun bit, which is the price of some of these bits and pieces. As you know, and as you can see, it is quite a big coach. As mentioned, I've split it down into various bits and pieces or sections to make it slightly more affordable for everybody out there, including myself. Shapeways like to charge how much room you're using in their printer, which they cannot use. So that is why we chose some of the materials like frosted ultra detail for most of this coach, bodies included and seats and detail parts. So what about the costs? The body, the three sections, you got A, B and C, and you can see them here. So starting with B, it's £18.82. Not so much material being used in there, it's just the outer shell. the two ends, they do vary slightly because one has more material used on the other. This end here being more pricey, this is end C, this is £28.35. That's mainly due to some boxes on the end here, and there's also inside there's a brake wheel inside on the actual partition, if you like, before you get to the seats. On this end, end A is £27.73. The detail for the roof, which you can see just down here, this is £6.30 in frosted ultra detail. This is available also in frosted extreme detail, which is about £7.25. The chassis detail, which you can see down here, is a very similar price. It's £6.70 in FUD or £7.20 in FED, which is frosted ultra detail. For chassis, underneath is £21.90. That is in black strung and flexible, I believe they call it, which is a dyed white strung and flexible, so you don't have to paint that, so that's quite useful. The seating, you've got end A, B and C. End A is £8.50, similar to C as well, which is £8.35, and the middle, because there is more of them, is £10.20. So it's quite a lot of cash, unfortunately, but that's the way it is. That's how much it costs to print. But it's a nice vehicle when it's all put together, and hopefully over the next few months I'll be able to construct this completely and finish it off, and then make it available to public on Shapeways. I have just released the chassis for this, as it's now passed all the printing tests, and as well as all the frosted items as well, which I will make available in the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping to get it all available by the end of February. I now know it actually prints and it is actually good, so hopefully by the end of February these will be available. As for bogies, this print is quite light, so I'm trying to keep all the weight in the chassis. There are areas where you can fill it up with say liquid gravity, for example, in the battery boxes, but I need more weight in the chassis, so I'm using some Fox pattern bogies, which will be purchased or have been purchased from 247 Developments, which I'm still waiting for at the moment, as he's just got back from a show, and they'll be arriving along with some bogies for the LBSC saloon, which I'm still working on at the moment. So thank you everybody who have watched this video and who has helped as well research this coach, and I hope this interests some of you, and any questions please post below in the comments, and also if you do wish to visit our shop, you can view the shop link on the description. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you again in another video. Thanks for watching.